Shelby. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to, we're doing another recommendations video for you all. This recommendation video is going to be reverse harem recommendations. So if you like your heroine to have more than one love interest, then this is going to be right up your alley, and I've got some great recommendations for you. Let's hop right in. I tend to, if I find an author that I like, a lot of times, like most of these authors tend to write reverse harem stories. They don't always have like just a two-person romance. I'm not going to say most, but a lot of their romances are reverse harem. So several of these authors will pop up more than once, just for your reference. The first one that I'm going to recommend is Allisons Adventures in Underland by C.M. Stunich. This is a Alice in Wonderland retelling. This is about our heroine Allison, who is at a party and she finds this guy dressed up as a white rabbit, and she follows him and ends up falling down into Underland, which is not as wonderful as Wonderland would be. This is a like darker type place where most of the citizens are male because there was a like disease or a plague or something that occurred that killed off a lot of like plant life, but then it also killed off most of the women of this place. So whenever somebody a woman gets married, she always ends up getting married to like 4 or 5 men because there just aren't enough women to go around in this place. So she ends up having a reverse harem situation with all the different characters that you know and love from Alice in Wonderland. Because then all of even the animal type characters from that story, they are more humanoid in this scenario. So like the white rabbit is the character, and he is pretty much male, but he has white rabbit ears and then like a little bushy tail. And that's kind of the situation for all the other like animal type characters in this. But yes, so then there's like Tweedledee and Tweedledum, the Cheshire Cat, all these people that she ends up having a relationship with, and they get together because she has the key to like saving the kingdom kind of thing. Then another C.M. Stunich reverse harem story that I have to recommend is going to be Groupie, and the rest of the books in that series as well. This is a rock star romance. This is about our heroine who is very down on her luck at the start of this situation. Her father or mother, her parents like died, and she like gets broken up with her boyfriend and kicked out of her place, and she's has nowhere to go, and she ends up going to this concert, and just out of the blue she happens to run into one of the members of the band, and unknowingly they were doing some sort of like contest at this site that if you find one of the members of the band, you get like backstage pass and all these different like perks. And she wasn't trying to find him, but she just kind of stumbles upon him, and so she gets to go backstage and she starts to talk to members of the band, and they kind of let her like tag along with them back to the tour bus, and she ends up having a relationship with all the members of the band, and it's great and I love it. And this is like one of the steamiest series and books that I've read with like the reverse harem situation. They get into some crazy sexual scenarios and situations. So highly recommend that one. And then the next one that I have to recommend is going to be Void by Coralie June and Raven Kennedy. This is a paranormal reverse harem. This is about our heroine, who is a very unique supernatural creature. She doesn't really fit in with any type of like supernatural like faction. Like there's witches, vampires, can't remember if they're werewolves or shifters in this book, but there's all these different factions in this supernatural community, and she doesn't fit into any of them because she has the ability to take away other people's powers. So everybody's very scared of her, but she ends up going to this school for supernatural creatures, and she meets these men that are from all of those different factions and ends up forming a relationship with all of them and figuring out a little bit more about her abilities and what they mean. And I love this one. It's great. Then we have Sunshine and Bullets by Coralie June. So another Coralie June book. This is about our heroine, and she gets kind of taken in by these boys from their not great families. They're on the wrong side of the tracks, but they kind of like take her under their wing, make her a part of their like friend group. And then one day which of course while she's with that friend group, they all start to kind of develop feelings for her. But they don't all act on it. But then one day she ends up disappearing, and she has to run away and hide her identity because of something that happens. And you don't know until later on what that something is. So she disappears, and their friendship kind of breaks apart. And years later, they are trying to get back together so that they can try to find her. They are wanting to figure out where she is, if she's still alive, try to find her and figure out why she disappeared and why she left them. And then once they get back together, they all start to develop those feelings once again, and our reverse harem situation ensues. So that one's really good too. Then we have another CM student story on here. Now we have Devil's Day Party. And this is a standalone, whereas the other two that I recommended were part of a series that you definitely have to read the full series. This one is standalone. It's just the book by itself. And this is a like high school bully romance with the reverse harem situation to it. But this is a Groundhog Day scenario. Our heroine is going to this party, the Devil's Day Party, and she's kind of taking revenge out on these guys that have been bullying her. But then she dies, and she wakes up and starts the day all over again. And this just keeps happening and keeps happening and keeps happening until she finally figures out at the end of the story what's going on to make her continue to have this day happen over and over again. And each time she relives the day, she finds out more about all these guys that have been bullying her, and she starts to develop feelings for them. So if you like a bully romance situation, this is probably one of my favorites. I used to read a lot of bully romances, but then I've kind of grown out of that type of genre. But I still really recommend this one. Then we have their Vampire Queen series by Jolie Sue Burkhart. This is another paranormal one about this girl who finds out one day like all her life, she's known that monsters exist, and she's always they've been out to get her, and she has to run away from these monsters. But then one day she finds these two men who rescue her from the monsters, and they tell her that these monsters are trying to find her because she is this like long lost vampire queen, and they are her knights, and they are there to protect her and help her come into her vampire queen powers. And they tell her that she needs to start, after she gets her powers, she needs to start building her court and trying to just make herself even more powerful. And by doing that, she takes on more knights. And taking knights for her also means having lots and lots of sex with all these hunky vampires. And this is just fabulous, and it's exactly what I want from a vampire romance. There's lots of blood and lots of sexual scenes, and it's just great, especially because it's also a reverse harem. So in a reverse harem, I'm also expecting lots of partners, and it's got all of that in it. So this one's perfect for reverse harem. Then I also have to recommend Cupid Psycho by Beatrix Hollow. This book just kind of came to me like out of nowhere. I was not really expecting to like this book as much as I did. This is another paranormal one, and this is about our heroine who has a huge obsession with her psychiatrist. She definitely is the type of, like, she definitely needs to probably see a psychiatrist, but he is not the best one for her because he, turns out, is a serial killer. So in her obsession, she ends up going to his house to kind of stalk him, and she stumbles upon him killing some people. And, you know, normal kind of situation that would normally freak somebody out and they would run screaming, but she just continues to be more and more fascinated by him. And he ends up putting the blame for all of these murders that have been happening in her town on her, and blames it like on a psychiatric component. And so he gets her thrown into this asylum, and little does she know that it is a paranormal asylum. A lot of the patrons, or not patrons, patients at this place are supernatural in some nature. So like she finds out that her psychiatrist, who also ends up being there, is a vampire. And then she also develops a relationship with a guy who is called a basilisk. And basically if anybody touches him, they immediately die. So they have to try to figure out how they're going to get around that. And then also there's a patient who is, I can't remember if he's like a werewolf or shifter, but he's also been like experimented on at this place. So he's got a lot of other like kind of powers to it. But yes, so she has a reverse harem with all of them at this place. And then my last two that I'm going to talk about and recommend, I'm kind of going to recommend together because they are part of the same series. And that's going to be Baby and the Late Night Howlers, and then Lola and the Millionaires, which I don't have a copy of, but I will put a picture up here. Both of these are by Catherine Moon, and they are in the Sweet Omegaverse series, which she co-wrote with Lana Cole, I think, is the other author that has books in this series. So the first like 3 books of the series are by Catherine Moon. Then I think Lana Cole wrote like 1 or 2, and then it went back to Catherine Moon. But this is just an Omegaverse type scenario, which if you're not familiar with Omegaverse, how's the best way I can describe it? It kind of has elements similar to like shifter packs, but they're not shifters. All of these people are human, and they just have these heightened sensibilities. instances. They can smell, they have this like heightened sense of smell. Everybody is categorized into either an alpha, a beta, or an omega. Omegas can go into like a heat and where they need to have sex with an omega. And that's kind of how they can like make babies. But they don't have to. I think they can also like have children with like betas. Betas and betas can get together and have children, but it's just kind of like a biological thing. So this first one, Baby and the Late Night Howlers, is about our heroine Baby, and she has thought that she has been a beta her entire life until she is out at this bar and she starts to go into heat, or she's very close to going into heat, and she starts giving off these like pheromones. And she realizes that she is not a beta, that she's an omega, and she's really freaked out because she's in this place and she doesn't want to get hurt by a not great alpha. And so she goes to a omega center, I think. It's like a sanctuary kind of for omegas, and they are going to help her try to find a pack. So also in this omega verse, usually they don't have a ton of like one-on-one relationships. They tend to form packs or like groups together for relationships, just because it helps to make their pack, their families stronger. It helps to protect them, and especially if they have an omega, having a pack can help protect the omega a lot. So this one's really great. And then Lola and the Millionaires, same kind of universe. Lola is actually best friends with Baby, and she's a beta, and she has always wanted to be an omega. She doesn't think that betas have much worth just because of some of the things in her past. Some of the things her mother has said to her, and then she's also been in a very bad relationship in her past that was very downgrading and abusive towards her. So she is just, you know, going through trying to heal from her abusive relationship when she ends up getting this job at this like fashion magazine and starts to meet these different alphas at that magazine and forms a relationship with them, which at first she's very scared of because, like I said, she was in this previous relationship with a not great alpha who abused her, and so she's very scared of being around alphas. So, but they are just very tender with her and very, very sweet, and let her kind of come to them and help her work through all of those feelings. And it's just absolutely wonderful. And in general, I recommend this series, but I also in general recommend Catherine Moon, because Catherine Moon tends to write like reverse harem. I'll have to double check her backlist, but I think if not all of her books, the vast majority of her books are reverse harem. And all of the ones that I've read so far have been absolutely wonderful. But like I said, these are the ones that I'm going to be recommending in this video just because they're some of my favorites and I love them. So those are going to be all of my reverse harem recommendations for you. If you think of some others, because I'm always on the hunt for reverse harems, I tend to find a lot of them end up being like high school scenarios, or they go into that like bully romance, kind of like the Devil's Day Party, which like I said, have started to kind of grow out of. I'm not as much of a fan of like high school scenarios. I'd much rather read adults in a reverse harem. But if you have other recommendations, make sure you leave a comment down below, because I will definitely check them out. And if you like this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. And then last but not least, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that way you know whenever I post a new video. If you want to see new videos from me, I really appreciate it. But otherwise, I will see you all in the next one. Bye guys.